What do you know now that you wish someone had told you earlier?
Essence of being an artist is supposed to be freedom. You go to bed at night thinking of the miracle of tomorrow. Images trust you and trust your discipline. You're not just making pictures, but you're actually doing something that hopefully will inspire.
Art really means to me is taking things from old and bringing them forward, and that's what your art is, but it's also about family. So I want to introduce Athlone Clarke. This is a beautiful show for our community. So thank you.
Love the whole room, of course, but I would love for you to talk about your inspiration for this piece right here.
Technology has become, and particularly social media, has become a bit ubiquitous where it's pretty much everywhere. There's almost no culture on earth now where social media or technology has not found its way into. And so she's from a little village and she goes to fish from time to time for her food. But what she discovered, as most of us will eventually discover, is that the ocean is completely full of stuff that is thrown away, computer parts, just basically violated with a lot of garbage. And so what happens is that the fish, being the product of its environment, eventually becomes like a computer. And so she brings home this fish, which has all these computer parts on it, and which, quote unquote, is a smart fish. And now she has to figure out how to prepare this fish for her family. And as you all know, technology might be brilliant and all of that, and it is, we can't escape it, but we also can't eat it. And she's facing that dilemma where she now has to figure out a way to process or prepare this food for her family. Eventually, she too will be overcome. But as you can see, now is kind of the birth of what is considered to be transhumanism, where we're part computer, part technology, and that process has started years ago. And the average person can't do without their phone. You lose your phone, you have a nervous breakdown. You know what I mean? So it shows you how embedded it is in terms of our consciousness.
Can you explain to me your thoughts in this piece you created here with the woman with all the threads and the buttons and the...
Memories. I grew up watching my grandmother on a sewing machine, you know, the one where you had to do your foot like this to get it to run. But she was always surrounded by thimbles and threads and all of that. So I think somewhere in the middle of creating that piece, I was driven by memories of my own grandmother and how she kind of looked when she was younger. The buttons, I'm no historian, but I do believe that, from what I've been told, that buttons are a very integral part of African American society because they represent a kind of continuity between generations. So buttons, a lot of the older folks would collect bottles and bottles of buttons. And so I decided the buttons were very appropriate in that particular instance. So it represents that continuity of brilliance and of enterprise. One of the things that drives me is that objects have memory and objects have energy. And if you think that's just a bunch of BS, throw $100 bill on the ground and watch how people react to it. Or you want to take it in the other direction, throw a gun on the ground and watch people scatter. So objects kind of have a certain energy, but what we do sometimes is that we assume because the object is inanimate, that it's just there. But everything is kind of built on the foundation of atoms. And I think there is a language that objects speak that if you're patient enough, you can hear it. And each object has its own story. So those objects that I find, I don't always know the stories behind them. And I'm not saying the stories are necessarily accurate, but I project my own interpretation onto them. I sit in silence. I see myself a little bit as a choir master or a conductor. I take all these different objects that I have and I try to bring them together to where they communicate in one voice. They sing just like a choir would, even though each member of the choir has its own, tone, melody, and all of these things. But they're able to kind of come together at the right point and create a story, or at least create an image that is cohesive. The lifeblood of what I do is experimentation. Some days I just have no clue where I'm going, but at the end of the day, the Spirit leads me to where I need to be. And so, as far as my work is concerned, thank God it supports my family. I've been able to send my children to good schools and all of that based on just my work, and that's a privilege. But at the same time, when I work, I found myself not worrying anymore about whether it matches or whether it looks alike. It decides what direction it wants to go. I provide some imagination, but at the end of the day, I've learned to accept the humility of understanding that I'm just a conduit. There is something out there. I don't know what we call it, but it's in the ether out there. And my brain just simply processes whatever thoughts are coming through, and it manifests itself with all of these things. Having said that, the creative process for me is almost religious, because it has distracted me from a lot of things that had this not been in my life, I would have been drawn in directions where I have no business being in.